What's up, guys? So, it's me and my classmate, Christian. So, we're going to do the, coal mine. That's my teacher right there, Miss Minnick.
Couple you got here, scoot over, guys.
Okay. So, this is kind of excited. I'm freaking out.
A little bit more.
This is actually a field trip. Guys. So it's kind of like a field trip video, I guess. My dad's here anyway, so I feel safe. Recording.
The reason I have my coat on is it's actually supposed to be
TV. There's a TV that doesn't even do anything.
It's actually pretty deep time. Really deep.
Okay, let me get your attention.
All right, listen to the gentleman.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to welcome all of you to the Beckley exhibition line. My name's Gerald, and I'm going to be the tour guide today.
What's up? Hi, Gerald. What's up, Gerald?
We got 5 simple rules to follow while you're underground. Number 1 is don't stand up. Remember that. If you stand up, you're going to have a bad day. Yes, you will. You'll be bad. Keep your hands and feet inside the cars because we have some close clearances. Don't drag your hands on the top. This isn't a roller coaster ride. We get a lot of kids that like to do that. And it's a bad time to do it because you get hit with these metal plates and cut your hand. Okay? No smoking in the mines. None of you smoke, do you?
Yeah.
All right. Good. Don't ever
I mean, like I knew not to do it. Like, not like I like to break the law. Never in my life. This is my first time.
All right. If you have cameras, you can take all the pictures you want.
Yay. I'm actually recording.
Don't fall on these seats because it'll go through the seats and fall out the car.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all from Janglu?
Yep.
What is that, 2-hour drive? A little better, maybe?
There's 2 groups. There's another class coming through after we're done.
All right.
So we got 2 4th grades.
Yeah, Mrs. Davis's.
Good. That's great. Good to have you today. All right. You ready to go on the ground?
Yeah, baby!
All right. Now we do a chant here when we go.
I'm excited.
You know what that chant is? Coal miner, coal miner.
Coal miner, 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 coal miner.
Here we go.
Yay, baby. Okay, guys, the ride started.
They'll probably do it 12 o'clock, won't it?
It's time, guys. We're gonna go. So dark in here. It does feel cold. It does feel cold.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, that was loud.
Whole owl. Woohoo! That.
Yeah.
That's against the post. Pump water to make it happen. That is actually coal mine.
Hey, get your hand in here.
Yeah! 2-ton cart full.
Listen, he's going to explain to you.
1-ton car. 2-ton car. Cool.
Okay, let me me tell you a little bit about this mines. This used to be known as the Phillips Mines. Phillips family owned it. And they operated this mines for 20 years. But when the Phillips family had this mines, this roof, this ceiling, it was down here at the top of these cars. Those miners worked on their hands and knees all the time. Well, they's mining that little seam of coal, and it's hard to see. Here we got some lights out. Down there on the bottom, that's what they were mining. And that's a sill seam, and it runs anywhere from 28 to 34 inches high. And that's how high the whole mine was. Those miners had to work on their hands and knees all the time. Now, this mine was shut down in 1910, and it sat idle until 1958. The city of Beckley bought it. And they hired a company to come in here and shoot the rock down from the top of these cars up to what you see today. They've been doing tours in this mines for 60 years. Now, when the Phillips family had this mines, they had 30 coal miners that worked here. And those coal miners worked 12-hour shifts. In 12 hours, each one of those miners could load about 10 of these one-ton cars of coal. Y'all hear that rumble?
I do hear that rumble.
And that's what the mountain does just before it collapses.
He's messing.
I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding.
we all was like, what?
I'm not safe.
Relax.
Those miners could load about 10 of these one-ton cars in a 12-hour period. You know how much you got paid to load 1 ton of coal?
Not even.
1,000?
No.
20 cents.
What?
They got
What?
20 cents if this was all clean coal. Now, if it had rock in it, like that car on the other side, that would dock you because they couldn't sell the coal and they didn't have anywhere to put it. And I'll show you on the next stop what he's supposed to do with the coal. Now, the way this worked back in those days, miners had these little round tags, and they had a pocket full of them. So every time he loaded a car of coal, he took his little tag and hung it on the car. Well, they'd hook a mule to this and they'd take it outside. Somebody outside would collect the tag, they'd write it down, and they'd save that tag and give it back to the miner. But as this mine started getting bigger and bigger, a lot of times you had cars of coal sitting here and hadn't got took out yet. And somebody'd slip over here and change the tag. They'd steal your coal.
That's actually gold.
Now, that wasn't very nice, was it? It got so bad, they finally they had to do something to stop it. And here's what they did. They told the miners to nail their tag to a piece of wood. Now, when they brought the empty car today, they threw this piece of wood in the bottom of that car. And they covered it up with their coal. So now when they took these cars outside, they would jump in the car, they'd look for this piece of wood, and they'd know which miner actually loaded this car. That's pretty clever for 1900. I've got a couple things here I want to show you. This was one of the first lights that the coal miner had to see with. Now that's called a teapot light. Here's how it works. You open this lid and you fill this full of kerosene up to that rim. It's got a wick that goes down the spout. So he'd fill it up, close this lid, and he'd light this. And he wore that on his hand. Now that didn't put out a lot of light. It's a whole lot like wearing a candle on your head. And every hour it ran out of kerosene. I'm going to show you what that looks like when you're underground and your light goes out. But before I do, I want you to hold,
Just for a little bit.
just for a second.
Just for a second.
All right, I want you to hold your hand up in front of your face. Now when I turn these lights on, I want you to see that you see.
Just for a second.
Just for a second. Here we go. All right.
Yes, I can see.
I can't see anything at all. I couldn't see one thing in my life. Absolutely.
Did you?
What? How did you even see your
Let me tell you
hand
a
after
couple
that?
things about this light. Miners would fry bacon for breakfast. And they would bring that bacon grease to work, and they would burn it in this light. And you could burn bacon grease in this light, and it did two things. It saved him a few pennies on his kerosene because he had to buy what he used. And it made the mine smell so good. Smell like bacon.
Like our
The
You see
flavors
this
of my
sign right
favorite.
here that says fireballs?
Yeah.
Let me tell you a little bit about a fireball. Fire boss is a person that comes underground 2 or 3 hours before anybody else. And he walks through the mines to make sure it's safe. Now, once he says it's safe, other people come in and work. This mine has to be fire bossed every morning. One of the tour guides has to walk all the way through the mines before we open up. But I'll tell you how he got the name fire boss. Well, back in the early 1900s, they didn't have methane detectors. That's an instrument you use to check for gas. Well, they hadn't invented them yet. And a lot of these mines in this Beckley area has methane gases. Now that fire boss had to take this little light, hold it up to the top, and walk through the mines to see if there's any gas. Now, first a little bit of gas, like 1 or 2%. This would ignite it. And it'll burn. It'd burn like a little cloud. And it'd burn up there for about 20 or 30 seconds, and all of a sudden it just went out. He burnt the gas out. That's how he got the name fire boss. But if he held this up there and he had 5% methane, he would blow himself up. So this was a dangerous job.
I'm not safe.
This little light for about 20 years. Then he came out with this light. I'm going to show it to you.
Did he get more pay than anybody else?
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
Up around 1944, he finally got raised up to top pay.
Yeah. Because now usually if you have the more dangerous job, you get more pay.
Right.
He didn't get more pay.
He did.
Huh.
Now this is called a carbide light. I'm gonna put some carbide in the bottom of it.
Smells good.
Now this is the top part of the light. We're gonna open this lid and it's almost full. So I'll just put just a little bit of water in it. Now this is gonna be one of the coolest things you see all day.
Yay, let's go, baby.
You okay back there?
I'm gonna get right here in the middle. I want everybody to see this. Now this is called a carbide light. I put carbide in the bottom. I put water in the top. There's a little lever on this light right there, and that's called a dripper. I'm gonna push the dripper. And you see why they call that a dripper? I'm gonna drip that water on this carbide, and it's gonna start smoking. It creates a gas called acetylene. And I'll show you how to light this light. So here we go. Right, you watch this. See that gas?
What in the... Bro, whoa.
Now you put this back together. Come on. There it goes.
It's smoking.
Okay, and you hold your hand right here and you say abracadabra. Hocus pocus. There you go.
What? What?
Now, there wasn't no magic there. There's a striker right here. See that little striker? But you gotta hold your hand here and let that gas build up. And that's how you lit it.
Bro, that's so cool.
Crazy, huh?
Explosion 3.0.
Can you feel the flames coming up?
That's actually fire.
That again, to show you how much light it is.
Like real magic.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's great for...
Oh
my gosh.
Yeah,
it's
that's
so,
all day. That's all the light they had.
It's so dark in here.
These are pretty
Down there,
cool.
just the thing.
And after on that little table, we got some
Why
of
does it
these.
smell like rotten eggs? Really?
You're not allowed to shop, but you can come back with your parents.
There you
whenever
go.
have days off, and you can come back here.
Okay,
I'm
now
gonna
that's,
come find it.
that's called a carbide light.
What do you show them? I'm never getting there.
Don't you guys have a good trip?
Okay, I want to show you one more light.
Oh, that's a lantern.
Now this is called the flame safety lamp.
What?
They use this to check for two gases in the mines. Now if you're checking for methane, it's always up top. Methane is lighter than air. So you hold this up to the top and you watch that flame. Well, if that flame doesn't change, there's no methane here. If you had methane gas, here's what this flame would do. It would start growing and growing and growing and growing. And if you got up to 5%, it'll actually explode inside this lamp without blowing up the whole mines. And that's why they used it. Now they also use this light to check for another gas. It's called low oxygen or black gas. It settles on the bottom. So you held this light down next to the bottom. If it got dim and went out, that would tell us we don't have enough oxygen here. They used these lights up until the year of 2000. But they had another name for it. They called this a possum light. Now, they call this a possum light for two reasons. They said that handle looked like a possum's tail when he's hanging on a tree. If you look at this flame from a distance of about 30 feet, it looks just like a pile of possums when they run across the road. And that's why they call this a possum.
Guys, it's cool already. When are we gonna go again?
Mm-hmm.
That's condensation. That's the difference in the temperature. Do you ever hear them using the canary in the mine?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, they take a little canary. Now, if you shovel this car coal, you set that little canary close by.
Kind of looks like a bed.
And every now and then you stop and look back at that little bird.
They
That
put a
little
bird in
bird's
there.
sitting there and he's chirping and tweeting and just having a good time. But he's working in good air. But if he looks back and that little bird's laying on his back with his feet up in the air, that's a bad sign. There's something wrong here. And that was a warning to the miner. But what this little bird would do, he would roll over on his back and he'd go to sleep forever.
It smells like oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get to see the bird. Is the bird in here? Is the bird in there?
I don't think.
But there was a real bird.
A long time ago, yes, they'd bring a bird in with them. And if the bird died, they'd know the oxygen's not good and they need to leave.
You got a bird in there.
Not good for the bird, but good for the men.
It looks like he's dead. That's not actually a real bird.
But they would bring a
I
real
think he's
bird.
waking up.
Yeah, you're just doing that person. What about the gas just kills
PETA.
birds, not humans? Yeah. It looks like there's a face down there. Looks like there's a face down there.
That's telling me that it's okay for me to go ahead and run that stop.
Yay! We was in this area for a long time. This is a little ride.
No, this is not little, it's big.
This is a good big ride. Good family. Good family. Good
Yeah,
ride.
this is really cool.
The coal mine's getting littler. I feel claustrophobic.
You heard what he said. The actual mine was half this.
Whoa!
It was this tall.
But, yeah, maybe some people got claustrophobic after that.
I'm sure.
It's so loud. I want to burst my eardrums. Oh, it's tripping. It's tripping, baby. It's a real good ride. Another fireball sign. Oh, look at that niner.
That guy is not safe.
What's up, guy? What's up, man? Do you watch Unspeakable?
Bro, you good? You good?
He's a dummy. Why did you call me a dummy? A dummy. It's actually, yeah, it's a dummy. Yeah.
It's just taking too long. they started shooting the coal with dynamite. But even at this time, miners still worked by themselves. This would have been a normal work area for a miner. Here's what he had to do. He has to take this pick.
What are you doing?
And he has to dig the bottom part of that hole by hand. Now he was down on his knees or he lay on his side. He's got to dig this place 8 foot wide and back as far as he can reach with that pick. That's called the undercut. As soon as he dug the undercut, he'd get his drill. And he had to take this drill and he's got to drill 3 holes in this 8 foot area. He drills a hole in the left, one on the right, and one in the middle. He was down on his knees and this went against his chest. And he drills these holes with his hands into the coal. Now you drill them holes, he would drill them as deep as he could with this bit. Now if you notice, you drill them holes down in the coal because it's soft. If you drill these holes up next to that rock, when you shoot your dynamite, some of that rock will come down. Well, he can't send rock outside. If any of that rock comes down, he's got to separate it from the coal, stack it off to the side, but leave it in the mine. Now he would drill these 3 holes. Then he'd get his black powder, and he rolled him up 3 balls of black powder about the size of a golf ball. He put them in them holes he just drilled. And he would take this tamping stick, and he'd scoot that black powder to the back of the hole. Then he'd reach down and get him a handful of mud. He'd put mud in that hole. And he'd take this stick and he'd scoot that mud back there and tamp it up. He tamped all 3 of them holes like that. Then he'd get this rod. This is called a needle rod. He'd take this rod and he'd poke a little hole in that mud through the black powder. And what he's doing with this rod, he's making a place to put his fuse. He put a fuse in each one of these holes and he ties them all together. Now he's ready to shoot that dynamite, but he's got something else he's got to do. He's got to come out here to the mouth of this place, and he has to holler something as loud as he can. Fire! Fire! Fire in the hole! That was a warning. Don't come through here, I'm going to shoot my dynamite. I worked underground 45 years, and twice I saw somebody come through here. When they put off the blast, they were killed. That's why he hollers that so loud. You gotta stay out of here. Even the miners couldn't stay here. He'd take that fuse and he'd go down this entry. He'd go down through our ways and get away from this place. When you shoot this coal, it breaks it up and it scatters it everywhere. He would get his shovel. He was down on his knees. They'd bring him an empty corner. And he starts shoveling up that coal, put it in the corner. Shovel up the coal and put it in the corner. He was on his knees all day long. All day long. You see back there where that rock meets the coal? That's how high the mine was. It was only about this high. So he was down on his knees all day long. Now if you'll notice over here on this other side, we got a coal scoop.
Like I can.
Alright.
We still use a lot of scoops in the mine today to scoop that coal. And we also got a loading machine. Now that loading machine, they had 2 arms on the front of it. They called them gathering arms. And they went like this. Those gathering arms went like this. So once you shut that coal loose, you could push that machine in there and the arms would gather that coal.
When did they start using those?
No, it's wrong.
Probably about, about
sign right there.
1950.
Okay. So lots of time spent on these with shovels before then.
Oh, yeah.
How are those powered? Are they?
Those are powered by electricity, yeah. This mine's closed in 1910. It never had no electricity.
So it never had those inside
No.
it. It was all hand.
It was all hand loaded. And this mine goes for over 8 miles. And every bit of it is hand loaded.
Can we go through the entire thing?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Can we go through the entire mine?
No, we can't.
They don't have it shored up and
No, only thing that's open is 1,550 feet. Now, if you look straight up from where we're at, straight up from the top of the hill, you're about 125 to 150 feet underground. Right here.
What?
Got a question? You save that question for a few minutes.
Do you all still access the whole 8 miles?
No.
No, no one does.
That's like we're sitting underneath our playground, if you want an idea about how much dirt is above you right now. Think about how high we have to climb to get up on our playground. That would be like being underneath it.
At the parking lot
We're gonna
level.
back up to
Maybe
this
more.
next stop and I'll answer your question.
That's how deep underground we are right now.
Whoa! Fire! Fire! Fire in the hole!
We're driving.
Let's go, baby! Fire! Fire! Fire in the hole!
Okay, in the early 50s, they started bringing more equipment underground. Now you had electricity. This is when they quit working miners by themselves and started working miners in a group. This is also when they quit paying by the ton and started paying them an hourly wage. The first guy would run this yellow machine back there. It's called a cut machine. That cut machine's got an 8-foot bar on it, and it would make that undercut. You didn't have to pick it by hand anymore. That machine would cut 8 foot deep. And they went from cutting places 8 foot wide and started cutting places 20 foot wide. So when you got to cut a coal, it was 20 foot wide and 8 foot deep. As soon as he'd cut that bottom, he'd move that machine up the entry about 60 feet and he'd start cutting another place. The next guy followed him with this hydraulic drill. Now instead of drilling 3 holes, he's got to drill 5 because it's 20 foot wide. As soon as he would drill them 5 holes to the shot fire, that was the dynamite man. He would put 3 sticks of dynamite in each hole. Now we went from shooting 3 little balls of black powder to shooting 15 sticks of dynamite. That's a big blast. So if you hear somebody holler fire, fire, fire in a hole, stay away from it. As soon as they shoot that coal loose, they use that machine up there, that load machine. He's going there with them gathering arms and gathering up. Every section had 2 or 3 of these roof bolt machines. Now what this roof bolt machine does, you look above your heads, anywhere you see these little 6x6 plates, that means there's a roof bolt in the top. These roof bolts tie this rock together and they make it a lot stronger. Each one of these roof bolts is 4 foot in length. And that forms a 4 foot beam across it. It'll hold up a lot of weight. Now the way this machine works, you drill those holes for those roof bolts with this piece of drill steel. Now, anywhere you want a hole, you can move this machine, put this up against the top, and turn it on, and it'll start drilling. This is the first roof bolt they ever had. This is called a conventional bolt or a chuck bolt. Here's how it works. You drill a hole, and you put this in the top, you push it all the way up, and you spin it for a few seconds, it tightens up. But what makes this bolt tighten up is this wedge on the boom. When you spin this bolt, that wedge starts coming down on these threads. And it pushes these 3 little fingers out, it's got the grooves in them. But when they spread out and grip into this rock, it tightens up.
Kind of like a driveway.
Right, anchored. Yeah. That's how this bolt is anchored. They used this bolt up until 1970. In 1970, they came up with a new bolt. It looked like this. This is called a glue bolt or a resin bolt. And here's how it works. drill a hole and you put this up in the hole first. Well, when you start up with this bolt, when that glue hits the top, it ruptures this cartridge, and as you push it up, you end up with this much glue on this bolt. You push this bolt up close to the top and you spin it for 15 seconds. You're mixing the glue. Then you hold it up against the roof and it glues it up. And them old miners seen this and they just shook their heads. They said, that'll never work. No way. But guess what? We're still using this today. 52 years later, we are still using this glue. And it works very good. Now, you had a question about these. Anybody know what this is called?
A plate?
Pizza.
Close. It's called a pizza pan.
I was joking.
Maybe a good pizza pan, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Up until last winter, we didn't have any of these in this mine. We shut down the 1st of November, we're down to the 1st of April. We had a crew come in here and rebolted a lot of this mine's top. They put up over 400 of these.
Oh my God.
This is additional support. Help hold this roof and these ribs like they are.
Basically like that.
They're called pizza pans.
I was joking. That's really called a pizza pan.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You got a question?
When you yell out if dynamite explosions happen, what would you do if a deaf person is a miner?
You have good questions.
I've
Solid
never had
question.
that question before.
Oh, that's Kyle.
I guess you'd go get him by the arm and say,
Maybe there'd be some sort of signal if he,
Yeah.
if they knew he was. Maybe he had like a vibrating button or something.
you got a question?
Why is the water
Okay, his question was, why was this red X on the top? That is a test hole. When you put these bolts up, you gotta drill one hole a foot long. And then you have to mark it so everybody can see where it's at. And that's called a test hole. Just to see if there's any cracks on the before you put these bolts in. Let me tell you a little bit about this lunchbox. Everybody likes lunch, don't they?
Uh-huh.
What's their favorite part?
That's the lid. Anybody know what this is called?
A plate? A tray? A tray? A bowl.
You're close.
A plate?
Not quite there.
A plate?
No,
A bowl?
It's called a pie pan. This is what he carried his dessert in.
Oh.
Now, they didn't have cookies and little Debbie cakes and all that stuff like y'all take today. And I asked a lot of them old miners what they took. And they'd say, well, if my wife made a homemade cake or a homemade pie, that's what he took it in. Later on in life, I saw a lot of men use this. They put their billfold in there in their car keys, so they wouldn't lose them when they drink. This part of the bucket was what he took his sandwich in. And for most of them, it's a bologna sandwich or peanut butter and jelly or leftovers.
Yeah, baby.
He took a lot of leftovers. This was the most important part. This is what he carried his drinking water in.
Baby.
You know, up until 1969, they never furnished him a drink of water. You had to carry your own. Now, what happened in the early 70s, they came out with all these new buckets like you see on that bench over there. And here's the problem that created. You got a few people with drinking water, and you got a few people that don't have any. Many times I went back to my bucket to get a drink, and I didn't have any water. Somebody had a drink. This went on for just a short while, and the guy came up with a way to keep people drinking water. Let me show you what he did. Here's what he did. He drinking water.
I can't believe it.
You'll see, you'll get a chance to see.
It's fake tea.
That's what he did to keep people from drinking these water.
Dentures in there.
That's funny. I thought it was going to be like a
Would
plastic
you take a
bag.
drink out of somebody's water bottle if they have their teeth?
Yo, give me a sip. Was that actually somebody's dentures?
Actually is.
Oh, they have so many cavities.
Glass wouldn't be about a third of the glass wood.
It's time for us to stop. Yep, Christian.
I'll get you in just a second. See that round bucket over there?
Yeah.
It's got some wire on the lid. You know what that wire was for?
Take that shot. Nice.
Miners would take a piece of wire And they wire this lid to the handle. Keep a rat from wrapping his tail around this and flipping it off. And he'd get in your lunch. Rats learned how to do this. They would get in your lunch bucket.
Stupid rats.
Y'all, cheese, spaghetti, and meatballs.
Can those rats eat like cheese? Give them new food. Hope they can like give them new food.
Gosh.
Like ratatouille.
In the early days, miners didn't have rides in and out of the mines. They didn't get paid till they got to their work area they worked in. A lot of them old miners would get them a scooter like this. If they had track in their mines, you lay this on a track. You lay this down on a rail, and you got down on your knee, and you put your lunch bucket right there in front of you. And you loop your thumbs through this lunch bucket.
Were there tools in the mine with them, or did they take their tools like this?
Normally they left them where
They left them where they were working, okay.
Down through there they'd go on this little scooter. That's how they got in and out of the mines.
That's a commute.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we think we have it hard. We have to ride a school bus. Things like that.
And it has air conditioning.
Oh my God, it's got
Let me tell you a little bit about this telephone. See this telephone? Even in the early days, they had communication.
What?
He was in here working, and he needed some longer timber, and maybe he had somebody hurt. You call outside on that phone.
It was just like one of those leaves.
Many times I've heard this phone ringing underground. I go down there and I say hello, and you know what they say? How much coal have you loaded? That's all they care about. How much coal have you loaded? I worked for a guy 18 years, and every day when we came outside, we had to come around a little hill, and the guy on the mines, he'd be standing there watching for us. And he'd watch us till we got almost up to him, and here's what he would do. He'd push his sleeve up and he'd look at his watch. He'd stand there and hold it for a long time. He said, well, y'all a minute early. Y'all could have loaded another shuttle car. That's just the way it was. You have a question?
Because then what if you weren't close to the exit? Like,
What's it?
I said that close to the exit, and feel like you might be able to.
You had to crawl. You wasn't close to where you exited the mine. You had to crawl in and out. Got any more questions? Got time for just another question or two. You can't reach the phone. Somebody will help you. You always, in the early days, miners worked about 60 feet apart.
So you had somebody fair.
So you had somebody further close. You could holler and they could hear you. Now today, you got anywhere from 8 to 10 men that work together. You got a question down the end?
What would happen if like you're coming out and the thing fell on you?
The thing fell on you.
Like this.
That
You'd be done.
that would hurt really bad.
Do you remember?
That's why they put all this stuff in here to.
That's why
They
you
make
gotta have all
100%
this
sure.
stuff to help hold it up. And regardless of how much of this you put in a mine, sometimes it can still fall in.
Gives you newfound understanding.
Gives you a new life.
Okay, I've enjoyed having y'all today. I'm gonna take you for a little ride, okay? So everybody sit back and we'll go for a ride.
Yay, baby.
Wheeler, it was 60 days, remember? 65 days? Imagine a dark night, because there weren't lights. It was as dark as.
Yeah, remember the stories? Chile miners?
Over here. Right under you. It's right here. Oh, that's a little. You okay? You're
think we're gonna get to see inside these houses. I think that's where the boss man lives.
We are. We're gonna get to go inside all of them. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, guys. If you want to see more, please like and subscribe.